Good Sunday morning to everybody. So we got a few people in here. I'm gonna crack open a Diet Mountain Dew. Might have to put a little backlight on me here. It's a little bit overcast this morning. Turn that light on there, see if that helps a little bit. Add a little bit of lights to the situation. Get the camera situated here so it's picking up the light. And see what we can talk about this morning. One thing I was kind of headlined there is that I'm seeing a little bit of a slowdown in the economy. It seems like to me. We're having some runs cut and a few things like that at FedEx. I mean, it depends on which factor of it. I mean, of course, a lot of it I think may be weather related. We're having a lot of weather issues, through the Northeast, and my runs that are going toward the Northeast are budding with the Northeast. We're having a few of those to get cut, delayed, or whatever. So I'm having some of that's fallen off a little bit more this year than I think last year. But like I said, let me get this situated here. I'm getting light coming in from the back here. But let me make sure my chat's working. Good morning, Chris. How are you? How is it out there in Kansas? I hope the weather jumps out there and improves for you real quick. I know it's from what I'm gathering though, it's the storm's been coming across through there pretty good. I guess you're getting snowy days, cold days, and everything else out through there. But like I said, I feel a little bit of slowdown in the economy, maybe a little bit more than last year. And like I said, it snowed some last night. Yeah. We're still more just rain down here. Thank goodness. I mean, I'm not complaining. With all the precipitation, if we had snow or anything down here, we would have been talking feet of snow if we'd had as much rain as we had. We had the precipitation bad down here. Let me get this. I had to excuse my lighting problem there. The camera on the laptop is kind of tough. Hey, Ponka, how are you this morning? Yeah, I don't know how things are working where y'all are working, and how if any it's slowing down where you're at, but it seems to be slowing down a little bit in this area. Well, like I said, maybe not so much in this area as it is the freight business. And like I said, a lot of it is Northeast related for me too. I've got runs that go into that butt with some that come out of Pittsburgh area or Harrisburg, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania area. And I can't seem to get my light situation. I'm going light, dark, light, dark. I hope y'all help me. I'm in between these two windows, and I don't know if it's the morning light coming in and out. I'll try not to make it look like it's a psychedelic nightclub here. Okay. So you got plenty of work to do. Of course, Chris, you're like an independent contractor too, aren't you? Aren't you doing? You and Ricky are working by yourself. I mean, y'all work for yourself, don't you? What I'm judging mine on is primarily the freight business. I mean, the freight business seems to have fallen off some as far as, like I said, some of the FedEx routes are getting cut or bidding and delayed. And the other thing I've noticed is, and this is one of the things that I guess because of the slowdown somewhat, they're demanding at the docks that we make sure that every single package that the sort is completely finished before they'll send a truck out. In other words, I've had some guys that got helped at the dock at FedEx longer than they usually have been helped, and then I've had some on the opposite end that people that they meet have been helped on their docks too. So I'm seeing sort of a squeezing of things to make sure that everything's run the most efficient. Mm. Yeah, yeah. I think so. You hadn't been selling much scrap metal and stuff, so scrap metal prices are way down. Yeah, no, that's one thing. Of course, taxes have been delayed a little bit. I think with the when the government shut down, I think that backed up some things. So you're just waiting for the scrap metal price to get back up, then, are you, Chris? I guess you had every once in a while you grab some of it to make do and sell some of it, something you think you can get some quick and easy money out of. I like to hear the different things, the different aspects of stuff. I mean, that's like the parts. Now, the parts business. Now, this is one good thing. Now, if the economy was going better, it may even be better. Now, my new store is actually doing way better than the previous store because we changed locations and that sort of situation, and we're advertising more and just a lot of different things. We're working it harder, and the store is doing pretty good. Now, would it have been doing better had the economy been a little bit stouter? I don't know. But I mean, I've got to kind of make my own way in that particular part. I mean, I can push it harder, which I'm trying to do, and advertise more, which I'm trying to do, and then try to boost the economy a little bit or boost its own economy a little bit. And I guess control market shares when I'm pushing to control more of my market shares when I'm trying to do in that aspect, and hopefully it will I'll be able to achieve that. Now the but the trucking, and I generally kind of judge the way the economy is going by the trucking business, and right now I'm seeing a tad more slowdown this year than I did last year. Now, I don't know if that's a good barometer or bad barometer or a change in attitude of the way that they're doing the freight. I feel them tightening up on the way they're handling freight more than they did last year. And that may be an economic thing within the system too that they're trying to do because they've changed their attitude within FedEx to make sure that they're not running partial loads out. Uh, a lot of times it was more about getting the load out and get it gone. And now I'm feeling more of a make sure every package is on there before we send it out so we don't have to send multiple trips out and, on different lanes. So that's what it's feeling like to me a little bit. So you're gonna flip some houses then, are you, Ponca? Yeah. Now FedEx. Now the delivery guys, they're going to be running ragged, and that's my perspective is the line haul, Chris, and until we, I guess you and you have to look at the percentages and everything. Uh, your area could still run pretty ragged. I mean, they could still be running hard and everything, and you're never. It's going to be hard for you to judge a guy with 100 package delivery, and then or 100 stops, and then maybe during peak and everything, he's got 110 or 115 or 20, or if he drops down to 90. So he's still going to be trying to get his off as quick as he can and all that sort of stuff. And still, I mean, they're not falling down below the rush thing. They're not going to be able to stop and throw their feet up and do anything. They're still going to be busy. But what it seems like to me, I mean, even on the package guys, see, the package guys are like me. They're independent contractors. So if they've got, say, 8 routes and they use 10 trucks covering those 8 routes, they may cut back to 9 trucks and condense it down a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit different, like I said, different mentality sometimes. Uh, and I guess I like to look at the total picture. I've been in the trucking business 50 years, basically, off and on, but primarily the last 32 with FedEx and it was RPS, and then it was FedEx. So I've been with them 32 years, and I've seen a lot of changes. I mean, a lot of changes over the last 32 years. Now they run a tight ship. I mean, they always have. Even when it was RPS, they ran a pretty tight ship, and that the you can feel the. I mean, I've told a lot of people I can feel the economy change more in the trucking industry than I can anything I've ever been involved with. So if you want to watch how the economy is going, just check within the trucking business. Now, I don't know how it is with the other trucking lines and everything. I don't know if ABF and Roadway and even Swift and JB Hunt and all these others are feeling a little bit of a pinch, a little bit of slowdown, a little bit of freight fall off or whatever. But I'm feeling just a tad more. And like I said, a lot of it could be weather related because we have had so many storms in the Northeast. I know that that's going to, deter some business activities in some areas. So it could be that because there have been a ton of storms. So you're going to be able to get some housings at 50. Now, is it an open bidding type thing, Ponca? Or is it something that you're just, that you got a sealed bid or is it like an auction that you go get this, or is it already laid out what you can buy it for, and then you just purchase it at that price? I don't know how the housing market is doing as far as I know. You can imagine that the housing market is going to. It's an online bid at HUD. Okay. Well, that. I wish you a lot of luck on that. I mean, that's interesting, and if you can get it at 50%, the problem with the inflation of all the materials now, if you've gotten a good line on materials and they haven't gone up so much, you're all right. Of course, the problem we have in this area, and I don't know what you're having, is subs. So over the past 15 years, so many subs have gone out of business that the ones that are any good are in high demand. And good morning, Christopher. How are you? Yeah, and that's what we're finding. If there's any work to be done, the subcontractors are tough, and getting a good labor force. I mean, the problem we had, with the economy going south in '08, is that we lost so many people that were good subcontractors. Well, you can imagine during that span between '08 and here we are 19 now, that 10 or 11 year span there, we lost a lot of good subs through the slowdown. They went to work at some uh, other entity, or they aged out, and then that left us a huge gap of people that weren't trained. We got almost a decade worth of young people that should have been trained into these industries that did not get trained. And of course, now we get a lot of immigrant workers coming over that have training, and that's what I see more immigrants, Mexicans primarily, or I guess some of them from El Salvador and Cuba and everything else that are doing subcontract work. And those are people that were either laborers or uh, skilled or semi-skilled people that are coming in. Yeah, or Somalia. Yeah, yeah. I had a driver that I hired that drove for me for. He was from Ethiopia, and hey, Tim, how are you? And I used to kid him. He was the first one to complain if the AC ever went out on a truck, and I used to tell him. I said his name was Johan. I said, Johan, I said, you're from Ethiopia. No AC, no nothing. He said, yeah, but I've been over here in the United States for 10 years. He said, I want AC like everybody else. But he was the first one to complain about an AC not working in a truck. And I told him, I said, I thought you knew how to adapt to that. He said he got spoiled like everybody else with AC. Yeah. And that, and that's sort of the way that, I think the economy is going. And, I'm wondering how cyclical that some of these processes are going to be as far as getting in and getting the workforce back up to snuff like it should. I mean, we are a deprived nation right now of having the workforce, good jobs filled. I mean, there's good jobs out there right now for truck drivers, for welders, for carpenters, for labor, just plain laborers. Those are good jobs out there that can make some good money for a lot of people, and people are not filling those jobs. I like to kind of quote Mike Rowe from the guy from Dirty Jobs. He's saying right now the problem we have, and it's so true, that we've got kids that the government is loaning money to study a profession that no one needs to be able to get out of college, and then they can't pay back the loan for the job that they couldn't find. And I mean, we are trying to overeducate the scholarly, I guess you might say, and put them out there thinking that they can get a job. They go in there and they go into one of the humanities, and when they get out, they have no job. We need to be training young people to take on skilled labor jobs such as welders, carpenters, machinists, mechanics, these type things. We need more and more people like that in the economy right now. And instead, we're finding people that are wanting to be a psychologist or a sociologist, uh, public policy. I hear that all the time. That one almost makes me sick to hear that thing. We need engineers. If they're going to college, go be an engineer. Go get a job related study. Don't get what I want to say, kick back and get a 9 to 5. We got too many that are wanting to kick back and have a desk job from 9 to 5, and then tell you about all your social problems. And we don't need that. We don't need, the economy cannot even. Hey, Jan, how are you? We cannot find enough jobs for people like that, and we don't need all those jobs. I mean, look around. The ones that are in high demand, like I said, are the the jobs that skilled labor, and it pays really good. I mean, you can have a welder or a truck driver, um, a carpenter, and some of these people like that, plumbers, electricians that can make upwards of 75 to $100,000 a year. And instead, you've got people going out there in the social sciences that are getting out of college, and if they get a job making 35 to $40,000 a year, they're lucky. So it's a situation that we need to rectify, and maybe before long we will. Maybe we don't know, but I want to see the economy grow, and the economy is going to grow as long as we get out there and we work our butts off. And that's not what's happening in some aspects. Now, some people may say, "Well, are you talking political?" I'm not talking political, except for the fact that whoever's in power, I want them to empower the people to work. I don't want a socialist nation. So y'all can take it for what it is on that. I mean, these people that want the government to do everything for them, I don't want to be standing in a government line waiting on bread. I can tell you that. I mean, most of y'all are probably not old enough to remember seeing on TV in Russia when they had the people that were standing in line. It looked like standing in line to buy a ticket for a ball game to get a loaf of bread, not all the bread they want, just a loaf, because they were rationed out. And then the bread, then you'd see the grocery store, and the grocery store would almost be empty of bread. And I don't want to see our economy go to that aspect, and that's what you get with a socialist, communist situation. I mean, and look at Venezuela right now. So it's a mess. And well, and that's what I'm talking about. And everybody, like what you're saying, Chris, and everybody has their own. Hey, JC, how are you? Exactly, JC. The ones that want socialism are the ones that want the government to do it for them. I mean, listen to what some of these crazy people were talking about just the other day. Is they want guaranteed salaries for people, even if they're unwilling to work. And that's the part that really blew my mind. They want them to have a guaranteed salary, even if they're unwilling to work. I'm going, how crazy is that? I mean, how long do you think the economy will sustain itself if we do those kind of things? Hey, Jeff. Yeah. And and hands-on is what we got to do. It's good. It's good to go to school. It's good to. Yeah, we're having, like I said, some of this slowdown is the weather. My northeastern trucks, northeast and ones that I've got guys that likes to meet the Chicago teams, Indianapolis teams, and the ones going to the northeast to Harrisburg and all that. That's the ones that are slowing down right now. And I would say a lot of it is weather related, but don't know how much. I hope that we'll get through this little bit of bad weather. Yeah, I know. At $15 an hour, it's crazy. I mean, it used to be $15 an hour was a great wage. I mean, I remember when we got up to $15 an hour in the union jobs and everything. And I thought, wow. I mean, I didn't know how the economy was going to sustain it then. I mean, I had a union job. My first union jobs with Teamsters, I was making $3.27 an hour. Now, granted, this is in 1967, but that was top pay. That was top union pay back in 1967. It was $3.27 an hour. And everybody was doing good. If you made 327 an hour back then, you were doing really good considering, mill workers were making dollar and a half an hour. And it's all relative. We're going to push the cost of everything up. When you raise the minimum wage, the cost of everything's going up. I mean, people say, "Oh, how did you live at $3.27?" Well, gasoline was 28 cents a gallon. So, gasoline was 28 cents. I don't know what the price of a loaf of bread was. I know my wife used to go to the grocery store when we first got married, and she could go to the grocery store and come back with 3 big bags of groceries, and chock full of everything we need, and she would have spent maybe $20. So that's how it's all relative. I mean, it is what it is. But we keep driving, we kind of deflate uh, the value of what we have because we keep driving the cost up. And when you drive the cost up through labor or anything else, that it changes the whole dynamics of everything. Because if Farmer Brown down here has to pay his workers X amount of dollars to get the product out of the field, he's going to charge you more for that product. So it's all relative. So all these people keep saying you've got to have a living wage for people, and we're wanting to change the dynamics of everything within solar and electric, get everything off fossil fuel. Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Yeah, I mean, everybody. I mean, all this is why I love the discussion of all my guys that we talk and chat with. Everybody has a little bit different aspect of what they're doing in the economy, and everybody has a little bit of how the economy is doing here and how the economy is doing there. And I like to listen to all those things because you know not one facet of any particular market determines what the market's going to be doing or the economy is going to be doing. I mean, you have to get a well, Neff. I think's been you talking about Neff trucking. Yeah, I think Neff's been kind of they're an old school truck. They were like sort of like Carolina Freight and some of these others, and some of them like that have you see the weeding out of all the older trucking lines. I mean, Neff's been in there. Neff's been in business, I know, a long while because probably 50 or 60 years. Because I remember we used to interline with Neff with Carolina Freight when I was at Carolina Freight years ago. So it's an old school one, and I haven't seen as much of them. And here's what I'm trying to get at. You used to see more of them interline down here to the south, and I don't see many of their trucks coming south like they used to, or not as many. So uh, you know, all these companies like that. I mean, it is a volatile market. The trucking industry, it's non-regulated. I mean, they deregulated it back. Reagan deregulated it back in the early '80s, and that helped it grow for the ones that are really. It really helped the newer ones. For instance, that's where I mean, if you study the history and or even look at there's some documentaries out there on like J.B. Hunt. That's when J.B. Hunt really took off. It's because of deregulation, and they didn't have to get out there and have all these bought license or bought territories like Carolina Freight and Acres Motor Line, Johnson Motor Lines, and I'm telling you, a lot of companies are out of business now, and Pilot and all these different trucking companies. So you see a changing of the guard somewhat when you see these companies like that go out of business. I mean, I'm online with uh, a group that's called Fallen Flags of the Trucking Industry, and what it does, it highlights the old trucks that you used to see out on the road, and you don't see them anymore. And ones like Carolina Freight, Preston, uh, Campbell Express. Of course, some of these may still be around. I don't know, but you don't see them. They're not as dominant as they used to be. Uh, of course, Pilot and Hennis and Acres Motor Line and Johnson's Motor Line, and those are some that were in the Carolinas that were big and strong and are no longer here at all. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like seeing a lot of different aspects of those things, and seeing and gathering knowledge from different people and different and I think that's one way you are smarter in the market and everything. I mean, I talk a lot with y'all guys and different ones, and we kind of bounce ideas across each other. I want to see, I may talk to JC and see what's selling good in Ohio, or what he's buying things, or what the price is and the market is in his area. I mean, trucks may be selling cheaper there, or higher here, or vice versa. And these are the things that you kind of have to be a smart businessman. You want to you know put your tentacles out there as far as you can to be able to find the best deals, because you buying things at the right price is just as valuable as selling it at the right price. Good morning, Greg. Glad to see you jump in here. Uh, but the uh, all the different aspects of the economy, like I said, a lot of it, like JC, what are you buying and selling today? You bought some buses. You're running out of room up there. You need to get some more. You need to get some more stone in that yard, so you don't have everything stuck up to high heaven. You're going to be working that great all to death trying to move stuff around. But the different aspects of the economy. Like I said, the one thing that I do like to talk about, like I say, within the trucking, and I get to get the feeling of the trucking industry firsthand, and have kind of judge how the economy, and even I judge how my retail store should be doing, because the way the economy may be slowing down, speeding up. Uh, you know, 2 months ago, we were running wide open. I couldn't even bring a truck in to hardly service it. It was so busy, busy, busy. Well, glad to see you in here, Clean Bird. You jump in here and give us your 2 cents, and we'll be glad to throw everything out that we know. We're a pretty good cohesive group here that we like to chat on Sunday mornings, and that's what I like about the ones that I get to talk to, is we are sort of a cohesive group of people that can bounce ideas back and forth, and you know and I think it's good knowledge for everybody if if you sit down and you listen and talk amongst yourself, and hear what the other people are doing. I think it's great for us, and it may give somebody an idea of, well, maybe I should either not do this, or maybe I should do this, or have second thoughts, because second opinions are always kind of good to have. Of course, just don't do like the guy that there was a guy that went to yeah, that can be pretty tough then, Clean Bird. Yeah, that can be pretty tough. But you're in your 50s. Well, that's young. There's a lot of guys here in the group that are in their 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. I'm probably the old guy in here. I had many of them that have said they're as old as I am. I'm I'm I've been at it since 1967. So I've got a seniority. I probably have top seniority among the group right now, I guess. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's bad because I'm going to be limited to how many more years that I will be able to work in the economy. But it's good that I might can give some knowledge of my past experiences. I don't know. I'm gonna say past experience, not so much knowledge, because knowledge is, that's uh, you kind of gauge what you would call knowledge. I mean, just because you spout off something does not mean that's actually knowledge, as much as it is as a contribution to whatever people want to hear. It may be bad knowledge, but I've got life experiences, I guess, from 1967 up to present, and that's what I can bring to the table. I hope it's good. We'll see. I mean, the people that listen to us or to me and chat with amongst ourselves here, I think are liking it pretty good, and that's what you got to do. Yeah. Well, that's great. That's great. And uh, Clean Bird, just jump in. You explain what you're doing, and everybody is pretty knowledgeable and pretty cordial to everybody on the site. And I like to. Well, I just saw Sandra Malls up there too, Miss Sweener. Hey, Miss Sweener, how are you doing? Uh, but I like to hear the different aspects of what's going on with everything in the economy, whether it be trucking, whether it's construction, whether it's anything. Uh, People that are really working. I like to hear from people that are really working. I don't have too many psychologists or doctors or lawyers uh, on this channel. I have more the real people doing real jobs, real working people uh, on here. Now, nothing. I'm not trying to disparage anybody that's got a higher education that has a doctor's. My brother-in-law is a doctor, and these are the things that we see, and you know we're talking about people that are actually working within their own parameters as far as their jobs, as far as uh, like I said, carpenters, builders, people flip houses, people that drive a truck, plumbers, electricians. I love talking to people like that, technicians of any. Hey, GM Tech, no, come on over and enjoy the scenery. Yeah, and it's good. It's good to be unique within the parameters of what we're with what knowledge we have. And I love to be able to talk to the working class people. I am a working class person myself. I'm not. I'm a contractor, a line haul contractor. I have done well for myself over the years, but I am still a truck driver by trade. I'm a line haul contractor, and I own a Napa store, as most people will know that have been on here very long at all. And of course, the reason I bought my Napa store was I got a real good deal on a great franchise a little over a year ago. And it was a great thing for me to buy because of the amount of parts and trucks and everything that I buy on a daily basis anyway. So I sort of, you know, yeah, I'm an owner operator. I'm a contractor. Uh, I own, I have about, well, on the road, there's, let me rephrase, I've got about 40 trucks. Now we have about, we're getting close to 30 contracts again. We're in the 20s up to 30 contracts, I guess you might say, with FedEx. And I have an association with Amazon too. I have a partner that's doing that. I'm not really messing with the Amazon side right now. You're turning wrenches in a dealership. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and you know, I admire people that do this. I mean, this we've got to have people that can work. We don't need as many people that to tell you how to work. We need the people that actually can do the work. Uh, in other words, like the old saying, we don't need that many chiefs. We need more Indians, and uh, and that's a lot of times you get too many chiefs. Yeah, and I think 99% of the people that are on this channel here, we're not looking for handouts. We're looking for a good opportunity to work. Yeah, this, and there's good work out there for people that are techs. I mean, you're getting paid for a specific job that you do. Okay, out of USG. Yeah, and that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a little bit of that slowdown, and like I said, some of it could be you've got to factor in a lot of different things. I mean, if you factor in how much bad weather we've had across the Northeast, the whole Northeast quadrant from Oregon to Maine has been inundated with a lot of bad weather. We haven't seen it down here. So when you take that entire quadrant, uh, uh, all the way, or that big swap, everything. In other words, you can almost divide the United States at the Mason-Dixon line right now as far as weather is concerned, and say, hey, everything above here has had really bad weather, and so when you got that, that means one, you guys are needing sheetrock. They're not going to need as much because the weather's been so bad. They're slowed down. Two, everything. This is where the people that are actually out there, if you penalize, in other words, if you were to take the people that are actually doing work and lay them off out of the situation for a couple of weeks, as opposed to the government workers, no offense to government workers, but you know, things really would come to a screeching halt. Uh, I mean, I thought that, and I think that's the way most people, clean bird, most people should not, never, never, ever. And I don't know why over the past 15 to 20 years, we have let this college education thing get upside down like it has. I mean, you got people, and I told somebody that was getting an education, well, I can't pay back my student loan. I said, the problem is you went in and you were sold a Mercedes and you couldn't afford a Chevette. I said, you don't go into a car dealership and they let you buy more than you can buy. In other words, you can't buy a Corvette and you need a Chevette, or because they don't even make a Chevette anymore. But I think you get the the gist of that. I mean, we have too many people, too many young people now that have gone out there and gotten cheap money from the government or whoever, student loans, however these colleges manipulate this. And they say, oh, yeah, just sign the dotted line right here. You can pay back the student loan at a low interest rate and everything else. But they forget to tell them, that will come due. They will have to pay for it. And if they don't pay for it, they're going to wreck their uh, uh, credit line. So when they do really need something, when they get out of college, they won't be able to get it. So yeah, I don't like to see people go pay for college educations that they cannot afford. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, uh, even in my time, my dad, when I got out, my dad said, son, I hope you can get as much education as you can. The community college is right down the road. It's reasonable. You can go down there. You can stay at home. You can get some education. And if you want to go any further, you can go further. Well, I went to the community college. I've been to the community college several times. and I've enjoyed it. Went down, I took welding classes at community college. I started as in the engineering program at the community college, and I realized real quick, and community colleges are good for this too. They will weed out the ones that don't need to go any further, because I saw right quick that I thought I wanted to be an electrical engineer, but I saw real quick that I didn't have the ability to be an electrical engineer. I mean, I took the classes up to a certain level, and I kid people because my son is real smart and is an electrical engineer. So I tell people nowadays, I said, I wanted to be an electrical engineer, but I finally, after 40 years, I made an electrical engineer. Or 25 or 30 years later, I married a real smart girl. Uh, that my wife is really smart in math, and fortunately, my son, our son, is really good in math too, and he took after his mother, not me. He took after his mother as far as his ability to do things like that, and he went on to NC State and got his electrical engineering degree, and electrical license too. So he's a licensed electrical contractor along with being an electrical engineer. And I'm real proud of him. But still, that gets back to the engineering, working for finding something. You know, he works in a manufacturing plant now. He's over DC engineering at Baldor, who makes you guys out there that work with stuff, you know what Baldor is. They make a big electric motors, DC motors, AC motors. They do motors from anything from, an air compressor motor all the way up to a huge motor that works in a coal mine or a tugboat. He's had to, or even he has the big electric motors. Some of them that are on these huge cranes that when they bring the ships in, unloading the ships, they make those big electric motors for that too. And to me, those are the things that make this nation great. I mean, when we actually can build something and we make something and we can stimulate the economy in ways that nobody else can. I mean, no offense. I mean, I feel like we have enough people that are in the humanities of college and everything else. I think we have to strive. We can't let this economy get to the point that we don't have the people to do the necessary jobs out here. I mean, and I mean necessary. You've got to have people to build the roads. You got to have to have people to build the houses, the buildings. You've got to have that skilled labor, because who are you going to call? I mean, I don't know if y'all have ever heard this story though. I remember hearing a guy said that, this doctor put in a call late one night because, he had some plumbing problems at his house. And so he called out a plumber. The plumber came, fixed the problem and everything. And then the plumber turned around and handed him the bill. And he said, Lord, have mercy. He said, you charge that much? He said, I'm a surgeon and I don't charge that much. He said, yeah, I didn't charge that much when I was a surgeon either. So that's sort of the way it is sometimes. I mean, you get out there and you realize that just because you may have one of these so-called high-end jobs, that you may not be the most in demand jobs. I mean, I always want people to you can look at what's in demand, and right now, I mean, things that are in demand. The truck drivers, it is hard to get good truck drivers out there right now. The trucking industry is suffering because of the lack of people going into the trucking business, and they're not realizing, hey, they're paying great money. I mean, I'm paying my least my shortest runs, which would designate the least amount of pay that you get on a truck, but the guys that run the shortest runs are still making over $50,000 a year, or up, in the mid fifties, and then we got them from there all the way up to 75 and $80,000 a year. They don't own the truck. They don't have to buy any of the fuel. They don't have to have anything other than a skill to drive the truck. And it's still tough to get good quality drivers because everything's tightening up on that. And there's a lot of demand for that. Now, the one thing I do suggest to anybody that wants to get in the trucking business, be sure and get yourself fully checked out. In other words, if you can get yourself and you're going to school or whatever, make sure that you can drive the straight drive trucks. Don't pigeonhole yourself into an automatic only. And what we're seeing, I'm going to take me a drink here right quick. What we're seeing in the industry is a lot of people that are pigeonholing themselves with maybe a company, and all they've got, they train them on an automatic where they go get their CDL license and they're automatic restricted. Well, then they are restricted to only be able to, if they jump from that company, they're going to have to find another company that has only automatics or that can keep them on an automatic. So, always kind of think ahead on those things and be sure and get yourself, and I'm talking to Ponca there. Yeah. Plumbers make good money. Plumbers make six figures. Well, that's good, Clean Bird. Yeah. Test on a 10 speed. And if you get checked out on 10 speed, then you'll be golden and you'll be able to, go to every single company that's, if something's available. Yeah, it's tough, Chris, to Christopher. I got a Chris and Christopher. I got to watch my names out here. I got a lot of different same names. It is tough out there to get drivers in the seat and stay in the seat and be a good, safe driver. My problem is I've got to make sure I can get somebody that's quality driver with FedEx that has enough good experience and is safe. Safety is the big kick out there. Safety is the hardest thing for us to make sure that we have everybody as safe as we possibly can, because they're really restrictive in this with FedEx and Amazon too, but especially FedEx. They are really, really tight. We have a real tight safety program, and they don't tolerate people that are going to do things half baked or half-assed. You better do it right. So it's it's a good company and it's a good market and it's good steady work. But that being said, they've got their rules and regulations, and you're going to have to adhere to that. You can't, you're not going to run down the road 90 miles an hour in a FedEx truck, because they've got them restricted to 65 now. We're governed at 65 miles an hour. You're not going to run. You're not going to be stopping at every truck stop with a FedEx truck either, because they've got, along with that 65 miles an hour, they got dedicated times and dedicated locations that you need to be at a certain point and time, because we used to call them butt heads, and I think they changed the name of that because they thought it was derogatory. We call them meet points now. But we have the meet points that we have to meet. In other words, I have trucks out of Charlotte that go from Charlotte to Richmond Hill, Georgia, down below Savannah every day. And they meet guys coming out of Orlando or Ocala. And then I have guys going from Charlotte to Lexington, Virginia, and they're meeting guys coming out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And then I have them going from Charlotte up to Caryville, Tennessee, which is up above Knoxville, meeting Chicago teams. And then I have some going to Knoxville, Tennessee, and they're meeting either Nashville guys or We have some meeting East Knoxville. I mean, Northern Kentucky. Uh, some that are meeting. I think we got a team out of Indiana that's coming down there. Just different aspects like that. So you know, you've got to, when you're working with a company like FedEx, you've got to meet those tight schedules. I mean, we can't lollygag around, as they say, and you've got to do what you're supposed to do and get it gone. Yeah, highways are still, and that's another way to judge the economy too, is to, if you ever want to see how things are going, get out on the interstates and see how much traffic you see out there. And if you see a lot of trucks and a lot of traffic, then you know the economy's still moving pretty good. Now, if you see a slowdown tremendously, then you know that the economy's slowing down too. Uh, the Chicago runs. Well, I don't have runs going into Chicago. I've got them meeting Chicago drivers, Greg. So yeah, I'm getting on up there a little bit. Uh, getting more and more every time, and trying to grow the channel a little bit, and hopefully we are, Chris. Yeah, yeah, Greg. I have a we have a lot of Russians and and all of them out of Chicago that we do meet. We do have a lot of Russians and Czechs and a lot of people from the Czech Republic and people that it's tough to it's tough for sure. Oh man, yeah, it's yeah. If you got a son, clean burn, that's 24-year-old son, he ought to, instead of washing dishes, he ought to get out into the trucking industry. That's for sure. Yeah. Well, guys, I am going to call it quits. I've got to do my radio show right now in a little while. I got a radio show that I do, an oldie show, since I'm an oldie. Uh, I'm gonna kind of promote that amongst y'all. If you want to listen to it, it's on ktcbroadcasting.com on Tuesday mornings between 10 and 12. So I've got to get ready to go do that in just a little bit and get that prepared for the Tuesday morning broadcast. It's not a live show; it's a taped show, but uh, I'm going to be doing that. And if you want to check back in with me next Sunday, I'll be out here next Sunday at 9 o'clock, spouting off what I know and what I don't know and that sort of stuff. So y'all take care. I'm gonna have to get out of here and get onto the radio, believe it or not. So I'll see you around, guys.